What is the connection between humility and financial success? The connection between humility and financial success is fascinating and multifaceted. While it may not guarantee wealth, humility can bring about traits and behaviors that contribute to achieving financial success. In this podcast, we discuss the purpose of money, the right questions to ask ourselves about being rich, and how humility plays a central role as the answer to these questions. Let us start with the role of humility. To understand the role of humility, let us first talk about what money brings to you. I would like you to take a moment, think through this. We will take a very brief pause for you to collect your thoughts about what money brings to you before we proceed. Having enough money to meet basic needs and have some security is a foundational element of mental health. Let us assume that you have enough money to meet these basic needs. In this case, what does money bring to you? Money brings you comfort, an easier life, and enables you to have a broader vision. Money does not bring happiness or satisfaction. If you depend on money for happiness, it can lead to disappointment and dissatisfaction, and perhaps even depression. This can happen both when you have money and when you don't. The question to ask yourself is not, are you rich? But instead, do you know how to be rich? You can be rich and handle wealth well, or you can be rich and handle wealth badly. Let us delve into these two scenarios. When you handle wealth well, it makes your life more livable and more comfortable. This results in you being a healthy, wealthy person. This is someone who is content with their life. This is also someone that is not content with their money. Because if you are content with your money, you will no longer pursue making money, and this is not the nature of wealthy people. Continuing to pursue making money when you already have wealth does not mean you are not happy with your life. When you handle wealth badly, it makes your life miserable. This can be best explained if we examine someone who comes across a large sum of money suddenly, such as through an inheritance or a lottery win. When this person suddenly has a lot of money, he is no longer happy with his house, his car, and perhaps even his spouse. His life has to be exchanged because he has money. In other words, his money is destroying him. One of the reasons this happens is because the event was too sudden. He did not grow into his money or he did not earn it. Understanding what money brings to you and what it does not requires humility. There is no shortcut to becoming happy by working hard and earning a lot of money. That will not make you happy. There are other areas of your life that you have to explore to find happiness on your own terms. Learning how to be rich requires you to learn how to make your life comfortable with the money that you have. It is not as straightforward as giving yourself the comforts of life at home or a better car. It's about planning your future and your family's future with the resources you have and making sure that in the event of unforeseen circumstances, such as an accident or serious illness, you can still continue to live a comfortable life. This requires considerable effort, and this is what learning how to be rich means. The point to take away here is humility is central to both understanding money and knowing how to be rich. Let us now discuss some of the traits that are engendered through humility. 1. Having a balanced view between your capabilities and external reality. This allows you to craft a response to a situation without being overly influenced by either positive or negative emotions. This will prevent you from overreacting to life circumstances. 2. Understanding your responsibilities and taking responsibilities for your failures. This can help you understand the root causes of your failures so you can learn and correct yourself in the future. 3. The ability to separate a person's opinion from the person. This is a crucial skill in healthy communication and constructive disagreement. It involves recognizing that someone's beliefs and ideas, however different from yours, don't define their entire worth or being. 4. Always having room for growth. You accept that you will never have everything figured out in a specific profession or topic, and that there is always room for learning. This learning comes from a variety of sources. 5. Developing your own ideals and ethics to the extent of being open to challenge the values of your parents. This does not mean rejection of parental values, but a willingness to question them. You probably wonder how this can be engendered through humility. I will explain this in the next section. It's about acknowledging the wealth bracket of your origins, which requires humility. 6. Sacrificing the long term for the short term. Navigating the trade off between short term and long term requires thoughtful consideration, self awareness, and the ability to prioritize delayed gratification for future oriented success. Let us now move on to how we can go about having humility. Firstly, acknowledge the wealth bracket of your origins. In a modern economy, there are four types of people from an economic standpoint. 1. You have the super wealthy, which are the top 1%. They can buy whatever they want, they can do whatever they want. Their key distinguishing characteristic is that they are almost entirely business owners. 2. You then have the middle class and above. They have saved money, they have nice jobs, they own one to two properties which may have been paid off. Their key distinguishing characteristic is that they live within their means and are cautious about spending. 3. You then have the group of people that look middle class but are actually broke. They have decent jobs, but they spend more than they earn. They want to look wealthy but are nowhere near wealthy. They may need to drive a certain brand of car, for example. They are one catastrophe away from financial disaster. Their key distinguishing characteristic is that they live beyond their means and are not disciplined financially. Finally, you have the completely broke group. They are poor, they do not have good jobs, and they probably do not have debt because they are not qualified for it. Acknowledge that people who have had an upbringing in the third or fourth groups do not really understand how money works. You will not learn about increasing wealth from people who do not have wealth. However, you may learn what not to do by observing their behavior. As an employee, the highest group that you can realistically reach is the middle class and above group, the second group. Reaching the top super wealthy group requires the ownership of a successful business venture, which is beyond the scope of this podcast. If you are in the middle class and above group, well done. You will also note that there are many areas for improvement and you can focus on these. If you are in the third or fourth groups, don't be disheartened. There is no magic involved in reaching the second group. Remember, being in the second group is not about having reached a specific income level. The second group is about living within your income level, regardless of what that income level is. Reaching the second group is a matter of planning and executing your plan and living your life with discipline. As Eliud Kipchoge, the first person to run a marathon under 2 hours, once famously said, only the disciplined ones are free in life. If you are undisciplined, you are a slave to your moods and passions. This requires work and, of course, humility. Secondly, ask yourself this: Do you think that your imagination has steered you in the wrong direction in your search for happiness? If yes, perhaps now is the time for a recalibration and course correction. In an earlier podcast, we explained how to develop a life strategy. If you have followed through with this exercise, you would have identified the areas in your life that are important to you. Thirdly, don't tell yourself a false narrative because it offers relief from an uncomfortable situation. This does more harm to you in the long term than it benefits you in the short term. Remember, your happiness depends on the quality of your thinking. The quality of your thinking evolves as you better understand yourself and the world around you. To better understand yourself and the world around you, you need humility and lots of it. Closing comments. In this podcast, we have discussed the role of humility in understanding what money brings to you and in learning how to be rich. We also discussed some traits that are engendered through humility, and finally, we touched on some practical points on how to have humility. We hope that this discussion has spurred some thoughts about your circumstances and that you were able to take away some practical points of view. That's all for this podcast. Thank you for listening. Speak to you in the next. Remember, this is not financial advice. We are providing financial knowledge to develop your perspectives on the many dimensions of personal finance that have to be simultaneously managed in our lives. Please seek professional financial advice before making any investments.